Hey guys, so I know it has been quite a long time since the last video, and as I've told you guys before, I don't really want to record a YouTube video without actually having something tangible to talk about. And so the past few months, we have spent a lot of time doing a lot of experimentation and a lot of learnings, and I think now that I have enough material to talk about a lot of stuff. So this is going to be a very interesting video because we are going to talk about. I'll probably upload it as several different videos, and we will talk about a lot of different things. So this, as you can see, is the car, and I have this subwoofer here. The subwoofer is from Focal. As you know, Focal is a French company, and it's not a 12-inch subwoofer, or actually they have 13-inch. It's actually a 10-inch subwoofer, and that is one of the smallest sizes they make, and it is just the right size so that it produces enough bass. And for those who ask me why not go for a 13-inch, what I say is that, like, when I was trying out the subwoofers in the car, I did try out 12-inch as well. I actually made them take out the 12-inch, put them behind, and then I heard that as just to get an idea of how does it feel. What is the difference between a 10-inch and a 12-inch subwoofer? What I found was that a 10-inch sounds like a bass which you hear, like if you're practicing in the garage or something like that. While the 13-inch or a 12-inch one, it sounds like amplified bass. And so for me, I wanted the more realistic bass than an amplified bass. And I also feel that when you look at the total area which is available inside the car, a 12-inch, even for a very big car like the Highlander, because it is closed, there are a lot of other problems which happen when you put such a big speaker inside such a small enclosed space, and that actually takes away from the experience, which is why when you will see this all over. This is actually a material cut off from a sound cloud, which is basically used in buildings or recording studios to absorb the excess sound which is reflecting off the surfaces. And also in my case, it has also helped me in absorbing the sound from the road. And I have gone a little bit crazy with this everywhere because what I realized was that there is so much sound from the road that it gets to a point where you are trying to add speakers. I think in a lot of cases where you are adding more and more speakers because you are trying to fight sound with sound. And I wanted to reduce the sound to that extent that I don't need to fight sound with sound and get it so much noisy. I would rather have a silent cabin and then hear the sound in that silence than try to drown out the road noise with more noise and more amplifiers and more speakers around the car. So let me show you what I have right. Okay. So as you can see, I have the sound sound dampening there. I have it here. I have it here. I even have it underneath the carpet here, as you can see. And you would say I'm like going crazy, but the truth of the matter is, you see this? I even have it in the almost everywhere. I have it here. I have it there. I have it there. And let us go and explore it here too. See, most of the time when I'm going to the office, there is nobody sitting in the car but me. So I found that that's a good opportunity for me to fill it up here and here as well. So as you can see, there is a lot of foam going on here, and there is I'm not just doing it because I think that oh, maybe it does it or maybe it doesn't. The reason I'm doing it so much is because I found that the more I have, the more the road noise gets down, and I know that for a fact. Now, don't get me wrong here. I do have the same sound dampening. The actual professional sound dampening stuff is inside all the 4 doors of the car, but I have used this as well in addition to that. And I can tell you that when I remove these foams, I can hear a lot more road noise. For example, when somebody is sitting here and I'm going somewhere, I take out these things, and I can definitely tell you that there is a big difference in the noise levels, because I can hear a lot of noise, significantly more noise when I remove just these from the front seat. The Highlander has this third row seating here, and just so you guys see it, it's a little bit hard to see, but actually if you see it, I have actually filled the bottom of this space with the foam as well. But when I was doing this, I noticed that there is an exhaust vent for cooling the battery which goes inside that, and so I cut it out in such a way that there is enough space for the cooling air to go through and it doesn't overheat. This is insulation, and if you actually look at the physics of this, what you will notice is that it actually absorbs sound and releases a very small amount of heat, and that's how it actually works. And if you are asking me that what effect does this have on the mileage, I can tell you that in the winter my mileage used to go down a lot before, but because I am using this foam everywhere and it is taking up the space, there is lesser amount of space to be heated in the car now, so I do get better mileage. I see that I get, like in the summer it was 21, 22, 25. In the winter I am getting up to 21, and the car gets heated up a lot faster as well. There is like an amplifier, Kenwood amplifier, that you can't really see it, but it is there. So even the insulation we put in for the sound dampening inside the doors, inside all the 4 doors, that's obviously acting as insulation as well. And so there is definitely an effect. It's not that there is no effect of that. One of the things I talked to my installer was that, can we put this foam inside the door? But he couldn't do that because he couldn't stick it inside. And the reason it has to stick if you put it inside the doors is because otherwise the windows won't go up and down properly. So you would think that is that all? I mean, what else do you need to talk about? And there is actually quite a bit actually. So one of the things I faced a problem once I got the Focal speakers is that they are, on one hand they are very bright. So the tweeters are very bright, they're very detailed and very bright. And the subwoofer, I don't know if everybody has this problem or not, but the thing with subwoofers is that, see, it's not that the subwoofer is too large. It is just that everything is relative. The subwoofer, 10 inches, if you take the same subwoofer and you put it inside the house, you won't have any problems. But in such an enclosed space, when you have a subwoofer like this, the first thing you notice is that I had a lot of irritation in my ears for certain frequencies between 80 and 120 hertz. And I fiddled around a lot with the equalizer and all of that stuff, but none of that went away. And that is why you have this very strange configuration of the subwoofer facing like this in between the seats. This is very deliberate. The reason I'm doing that is because there is so much space between the subwoofer dome and anything else. Previously, the subwoofer was on a side in the back and it was facing towards the other side. And what I noticed was that there is a significant reduction in distortion when I move the subwoofer and put it in the center. And the reason for that is because it doesn't, so if the subwoofer is here, is in this position in the boot, then when it fires and it hits here, and it is hitting all of these things in the boot, and that causes a distortion. This helps with that. So if you have this in the back and you do it like that, maybe it's not that bad, but it was pretty bad. And for me, I found that I could actually run the subwoofer at a slightly higher volume when I place it in the way it has been placed right now. That is the number one learning, and it took me a long time to figure out. I even tried different subwoofers, but ultimately I found out that no matter how good the subwoofer is, if it is going to bounce off the things inside the car, it is going to distort. And for some people, that distortion may result in some kind of headache or something like that. And so that's the problem. The second thing is that I always used to use the equalizer, and I've used the equalizer for a long time. But what I have realized was that when I'm using like a receiver at home, I never equalize. You can't equalize a Sonos speaker, right? And in my Onkyo, there is an equalizer, but I never felt the need to use it. But in the car, I was using the equalizer. And the problem with using equalizers is that the music was mixed in a certain way in the studio. And when you are equalizing the music, you are changing the music from how it is supposed to be heard. And I have a lot of experience doing this, and I can tell you for a fact that you are not doing the right thing if you are doing the equalization. Why do I say that? Because everything you do to the sound results in the sound changing, and when the sound changes, or when anything acts on it to change the sound, it introduces distortion. And I found that eventually, when for long listening sessions, this results in headaches for me at least. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just connect my phone through CarPlay onto this thing, and so I'll show you some stuff, and you can actually zoom in on this screen right now. Okay, so what I want to show you is that I want to show you the settings, because you buy these things, nobody's going to talk about this, and I want to make sure that you understand how to use it. So you can throw money at it, right? There are two ways you can deal with it. Not understand how the thing works, and then flail around trying to get it to work properly, and then you don't know what you're doing wrong. You don't know, you buy more expensive speakers and you think that is going to make the problem go away, but not necessarily. And so it's also about cost effectiveness as well. Like, do you want to spend $20,000 in the car? You don't really have to spend $20,000 in the car to get the sound you want. And to do that, that's what I'm going to show right now. So if you go inside the car's menu, and if you go into sound effect, you will see that I've turned everything off. Even the drive equalizer, right? So the drive equalizer is supposed to adjust for road noise, and it's supposed to make you hear the sound better. But that introduced distortion. I can tell you that for a fact, because I used to get headache when it is turned on. So right now, and I've experimented with all of it, and what I have seen is that whatever you turn on here, it introduces some distortion, which results in headache. And so I have turned it off, and I use this now, and I've used sound dampening inside the car doors to actually bring the noise level down, so you don't need to do any of this stuff. And that is what you actually need to do, and that's what I recommend. And you go into the equalizer, you will see I'm not equalizing, because you're changing this, you are introducing distortion, and you're not listening to the music the way the mixing engineers intended. So that is completely wrong, right? But for a long time, I was forced to use this, because the subwoofer in this car is so powerful right now that if I don't turn down the bass, it was just too much bass, right? This may not be a problem for the bass heads, but I can tell you that in an enclosed space, even if you get the minimal subwoofer of a 10-inch, it could get too much for you. And how do you deal with this, right? You can turn on the equalizer. I don't recommend doing that. You can go into the crossovers, and you can change the cutoff frequencies here, right? But again, when you change these cutoff frequencies, what you are really doing is that you are basically, this is not going to solve your problem. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. For a lot of us, there is only so much bass you can take, right? And let's say you already got the best speakers you can get. What is the best speaker you can get? It comes around the $1,000 range, right? More than that would be too much. So let us say that you already got like focals, which are like very good, and the bass is still too much high for you. What do you do? And this Nobody is going to tell you in any video anywhere, and that is exactly why I'm making this video. Because I only want to tell you things which nobody has heard before. You can't read about it anywhere. So what you do, and that is what I found out after I don't know, 6-7 months, all of this while I've not uploaded any video. That is what I was trying to figure out. How do I fix this problem with too much bass? So what do I want to do? I want to hear the bass, but I don't want it to overpower me. I want to increase the volume so that the sound is enjoyable, but I don't want it to that extent that, I know I need a 20 volume, but I can't move to 20 because the subwoofer is too high, and you reduce the bass, then you see what I'm trying to say? You just can't get to that point where the bass is at such a level that for any song, neither it is overpowering nor is it too less. So what do you do? This is what you do, and watch closely. So this is a Kenwood. What you would do is you would go to adjust the levels of the speaker. Okay, so if you look at this screen, you will see what I have done. So minus 8 dB is the lowest you can go for a subwoofer. And what I have done is I have kept the subwoofer at the lowest. And believe me, even at this lowest, it is pretty loud. Okay, it was so loud, in fact, that what I did was, instead of modifying the equalizer, which changes the basic frequencies in which the sound is recorded, thereby introducing distortion, what I did was I reduced the levels of the other speakers. And this is all very deliberate, and this is the numbers which work for me. The front is very good focal speakers, so it is at minus 3 dB. The rear car door speakers are also at the same minus 3 dB. I don't want to increase it because the front speakers are better than the rear speakers. These are coaxials while these are component speakers. So that's why I kind of experimented a lot and I arrived at the front speakers being minus 3 dB, right? If you like your tweeters to be at a higher volume, then you could go higher than what I have put it. But what I found out was that with a lot of experimentation, if you increase it for more than minus 2.5, then it's a little bit too bright for me. And what I want is, when I play the music, I want it at a certain frequency where you can really hear the singer, the mids. I want the mids to be there, and the rich mids, and the bass mids also should be high. I want the tweeter to be just the right amount, so that when the guitar or something like that plays, you can hear it, and it is very clear, it is very articulate, but it is not too much. It's not too much where it's like you're listening to it on stage, and it's like, oh, I can hear that the higher frequencies are way too much. So this is just the right amount. And so what did I do here? And that's what I wanted to understand. What I did was, I can't reduce the subwoofer beyond this, but anything higher than this causes ear pain. And what was happening was that doing anything else, the bass was too low. And when I increase the volume, I want the bass to increase as well, but not so much that it causes ear pain or headache. So I brought down the mids and the highs. So the subwoofer can only go so much, and I can't increase it. I can't reduce it. This is the sweet spot. So I brought down the tweeters and the mids, so that now this has got, I can't go up, I can't go down. So this has to remain, the subwoofer has to remain the same. I can't bring the mids and highs up because that would be too much. So I bring it down. So now what do you get? Instead of equalization, you have adjusted the volume of the speaker so that it can go up, it won't introduce distortion, it won't be too much, it can go down. But for pretty much any song I listen to, the frequencies are in such a level, mixed in such a level, that it is kind of perfect. And the alternative for this was to get another speaker, which is an 8-inch subwoofer, and I may still have to do it, but I have not really felt the need to do it. And let me explain why. So if you go to the crossover, what you will see is, so this is the front, right? This could be higher. This could be lower, because these component speakers can go all the way down to 60. But that would be the lower it goes, the more distortion there will be. I could keep it at 90, but like I told you, I have a problem with it being 90 because I seem to get a little bit of headache between 80 and 120 hertz. So what I have done is, these speakers are the nearest to me, and so I am running it at a very easy 120 hertz, which can easily do without any distortion. But the slope is -6. What that means is that even though it is 120 and it is not going lower than what it could, because the slope is -6, I am getting the good coverage of the other frequencies too. If the slope is -12, you see how it is going up, so it won't be running those frequencies. That is why it is very, very deliberately set to 120 hertz, which is very high, but the slope is such that I can easily get the other frequencies as well. If you look at the rear, I have again done something very similar. I have found that no matter what, if I go below 120, it is gonna irritate me. So I have put it at 120, but the slope is very, very high, so I don't miss out on those frequencies. And this is a good alternative to not having another speaker. And the subwoofer, as you can see, it is set at 90. When they gave me the car, it was set at 120. But as I said, I have experimented a lot with this. I just can't go beyond 90. When I go to 100 or 120, it just produces irritation. So what I have done is, and I was setting it to 80 before, and even at 80 I was having trouble. So what I did was, I set it at 90, but I have put the slope at -18. So the slope could be -6. It would give me too much of the frequencies, headache. -12 is sort of okay, but still at some volume I get headache. At -18, I could go to 24, which is a very sharp cut, but it is too sharp of a cut. I wanted the subwoofer to do a little bit more work. Yeah, I know there's a lot of glare here, and so I'm just moving it here so you can see it a little bit more clearly. So where was I? So yeah, so as you can see, I've put no gain. I have noticed that when you change anything here, right, when you try to amplify, when you try to do anything with the sound, what you see is that there is distortion is added. That is why you will see that I have not done any equalization. Everything is 0. I only reduced the volumes. I have not increased the volume, and the gain is set to 0. So that is how my setup is right now.